It's Wednesday and it's time for the Word of the Week, but this week I had a question from friend of the channel, Lucas, whose question lends itself beautifully to taking the place of the Word of the Week, and so that's what we're going to do. Here's his question. 1 Corinthians chapter 13 describes love, and the ESV says, "Love believes all things." I just have such a non-concrete understanding of what that means. Would you mind breaking down the words if it helps? Lucas, I don't mind, and it will help, I believe, because the words are very instructive. If you've attended 2 or 3 weddings in your life, you've probably heard 1 Corinthians 13 read out loud. It's 13 verses, pretty brief. Most weddings don't read the whole thing, but it describes the characteristics and virtues and value of love thoroughly. And if you haven't read it, I recommend that you pause. Go read 1 Corinthians 13, 1 through 13 quickly. Come back when you're done, or if not, read it sometime later today. It's worthwhile to read the whole thing. The question today is in verse 7, and it's simple, but it says so much. Let's dig into verse 7 from the ESV. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Now, beneath that, I've placed the entirety of verse 7 in Koine, panta stege, panta epistue, panta elpidze, panta hupomene. So, first thing you notice in the Greek here is that the word love, agape, is absent. It has been supplied in ESV and most translations from verse 4. So the last time that the word love is explicitly used is verse 4, but it is the contextual subject of the whole passage, and it is the grammatical subject of each of the 4 verbs that are here in the verse. So I've just repeated myself. There are 4 verbs here in the passage, stege, pistue, elpidze, and hupomene, and each of the 4 verbs is in the present tense, the active voice, the indicative mood, and is third person singular. He, she, or it bears, believes, hopes, endures. Another interesting thing about that is they're all in the present tense, so we should take the aspect of the action as sort of ongoing or continual. Continually bears, continually believes, continually hopes, continually endures. Notice that each verb has not just a direct object, they each have the same direct object, panta. And panta is the accusative case, neuter gender, plural person of pas. Pas is all or every. But here, because it's neuter plural and it's the direct object, it's all things or everything. If it's used with a masculine noun, or if it's used by itself masculine, it usually refers to persons. If it's used in the feminine, it refers to someone who is specifically female, or if it's modifying or standing in for feminine nouns, it would be in the feminine. And then here again, in the neuter, plural, it's all things. So notice the direct object, the panta, in all 4 cases is in the emphatic position. It appears prior to the verb. So the emphasis, the stress, is on the all things. So what do we know about love? It bears all things. It believes all things. It hopes all things. It endures all things. The emphasis is on the panta. So what else do we see here? What else do we know about this thing? Because there's no conjunctions, there are no other modifiers, that we're supposed to take these 4 little phrases, panta stege, panta pistue, panta elpidze, panta hupomene, as a unit. We shouldn't separate them out and treat them as though they're unrelated things. The structure and the grammar, the consistency of it indicates that we should take this as kind of a set of four things that form a whole. This was clear to the men who broke up the New Testament into chapters and verses. You can see it by the fact that they gave these four little phrases their own verse. Verse 7 is just these four little phrases. Why does that matter? So what? It matters because we want to understand all four of the verbs and their direct object as communicating sort of a whole idea, a chunk of an idea. We're going to do that by looking at the four verbs right now. So remember, all four verbs, present active indicative, third person singular. Stege comes from stego, means I bear, I put up with, I tolerate. And if you dig into stege, into several different lexicons, there's a hint, there's a suggestion that it's bearing in silence. It's like putting up with something without complaint. So one of the things that we see that love does is it bears, it tolerates, it puts up with without complaint, in silence. The next one, pistue, at the heart of Lucas's question, pistue from pistuo is I believe, I trust, or I rely on. So here, it's ongoing. It's a belief in someone or something, a promise, a thing that's hoped for, that's looked for, that's waited for, and it's holding on to that. It's putting reliance in it. That's what faith is, right? I sat down in my chair today with the faith that the chair would support my weight. You lay down at night, you close your eyes and go to sleep with the faith that you will in fact wake up again. That's what faith is. It's belief, trust, or reliance. Elpidze, from elpidzo, is to hope or to hope for or to expect. So it's wanting something to happen that hasn't happened yet. It's anticipatory and in good favor, in a positive outcome, hoping something will happen. And then hupomene, from hupomeno, is enduring, but it's literally hupo, under, and meno, abiding or remaining. Remaining or abiding under something. So it's holding out, it's standing firm, it's enduring without leaving. So it's making the decision to stay despite the challenges and the struggles. So I want you to notice that the series of four things begins with bearing and ends with enduring. What's the difference between bearing and enduring? Well, here, stege, from stego, is to tolerate in silence, perhaps in silence, to quietly tolerate, to put up with something. And hupomene, from hupomeno, is to endure, it's to remain under the thing without quitting, without leaving, without abandoning it. So the four together have these great bookends. Love does what? Well, pantastege, it tolerates all things without complaint, quietly. It also does these two things in the middle, right? Panta pistue, it believes all things. Panta elpidze, it hopes all things. And then at the end, panta hupomene, it endures without quit. It sticks around. It hangs in there through struggles, through difficulties, through challenges. So look at the block of four as a block, and you find yourself looking at something pretty magnificent. Good love, godly love, according to Paul, quietly bears all things, puts up with difficulties and even nonsense, believes and trusts all things, gives a benefit of the doubt. Even though we haven't yet seen the good thing happen, it gives the benefit of the doubt that the thing hoped for is coming. Hopes for all things, is expectant on behalf of others, or is expectant on behalf of a promise, of a thing that is looked for, and it endures all things. It stands fast despite struggles. So if you've ever been in a good marriage, this will sound very familiar to you. And notice, I said in a good marriage. In a functional, healthy, good marriage, these things happen. The endurance, the bearing with of nonsense, sometimes being quiet when you don't want to, believing in the other person and believing in the hopes and dreams of the marriage, hoping, trusting that good things are coming, and enduring, sticking around even when things get tough. One of the primary things that we see happen in modern culture is marriages fail because at early signs of challenge or struggle, instead of enduring and working through, people say, well, this is not what I signed up for, I'm out. Right. So one of the things that I've always said about marriage in particular is you should aspire to marry better than your spouse does. You should marry someone that in your view is a better person than you are. Why do I say that? Because it makes it more likely that you're going to be on the receiving end of panta stege, quietly tolerating your nonsense, of panta pistue. This is a person who is going to believe, is going to trust, is going to give you the benefit of the doubt, even when it may not initially seem like the way to go. It's going to believe in you and trust in you for as long as that's possible. Is going to engage in panta elpidze, is going to hope and expect on your behalf and on behalf of the two of you as a couple, is really going to try to see that there's good stuff coming if we stick with it. And finally, panta hupomene is going to endure and is not going to call it quits, is not going to hit the eject button at the first sign of difficulty or struggle, because marriage is hard. Love is difficult. And if you're going to hit the eject button at the first sign of trouble, you won't experience the fullness of what's available. So I look at those four things, those four little phrases, panta stege, panta pistue, panta elpidze, panta hupomene, as one thing that describes the crux of what it's like to experience as a giver or receiver of good, real, godly love. It's going to involve all those four things. So if you're going to experience it, if you're going to really have this as a giver or receiver, you have to understand that it means putting up with much, putting up with all things, accepting much, trusting much, believing much, hoping much, and in fact, sticking around through much. All things, panta. Lucas, I hope that helps answer your question about believes all things, and hope in the broader context we see the magnificence of Paul's writing in those four very simple little phrases: panta stege, panta pistue, panta elpidze, panta hupomene. Bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. That's the essence of good, godly love, according to Paul, writing to the Corinthians in chapter 13, verse 7. Go read it for yourself. Great stuff. And always remember, aspire to marry better than your spouse does. Thanks for watching. Share, like, subscribe. Until next time, Karskai Reina Humin. Grace and peace to you.